Now, out of the slow food movement has grown something called slow cities, which again started in Italy but has spread right across Europe, including again here in the UK. And what slow cities do is they reconfigure the urban landscape in ways that encourage people to put on the brakes. So they maybe close roads to traffic or make more green spaces or just something simple like putting in a public bench so people will slow down and smell the proverbial roses. Now, I don't want you to get the impression that the slow revolution is an Italian export. It's far wider and far deeper than that. Just think of sports, for instance. 15 years ago, slower forms of exercise, like yoga, tai chi, Pilates, seemed a little alternative and flaky and a bit girly, even. Today, you find elite athletes in the most testosterone-drenched sports on earth, ice hockey, rugby, American football, doing yoga, tai chi, Pilates. And why is that? It's because these slower forms of exercise actually work. They strengthen and tone the muscles, they enhance balance, but they also do something deeper. They cultivate a kind of inner calm, an inner slowness, so that the athlete, when he reaches the field of play, the field of battle, even when he's moving fast and things are moving quickly around him, he keeps a slow inner core. And that's what athletes have always described as being in the zone. And what we're talking about there, in a way, is the link between the mind and the body, aren't we? And that's something that gets ruptured by this fast-forward culture. The two get uncoupled. And when you talk about mind and body, you have to talk about medicine as well, don't you? There's a lot of fast medicine around. It's a quick fix culture. We get unwell, we want a pill that'll sort us out by 4 p.m. But even though we're spending more money than we ever have on medical care, chronic illnesses especially are rife. And that's why you're seeing a slow rethink in the medical world. Medical schools putting listening back on the curriculum because they've discovered that when a doctor takes the time to look into the eyes of a patient, to exchange just a pleasantry about yesterday's weather or the football match, when the patient feels that the doctor has slowed down and heard them, that they relax and the natural healing mechanisms of the body kick in. The boom worldwide of complementary and alternative medicines is another sign, I think, that people are yearning for therapies that are gentler, more holistic, slower. A lot of these ancient therapies are based on techniques that take a long time. Now, obviously, many of them are a little bit dubious and the jury is still out. I won't be first in line to get a Princess Diana approved coffee enema, for instance. But clearly other alternative therapies, you know, acupuncture, massage, meditation, these things do have a real medical payoff. Now, following on with this idea of the mind and body, when you talk about that link, you come back to sex again, don't you? It all comes down to sex often. You remember that BlackBerry couple? When I first heard that story, I thought, come on. I mean, these people are freaks. But about a month later, the Sunday Times ran a cover story about our mobile phone usage habits. And the conclusion was that 20% of us, 1 in 5 of us now, are willing to interrupt the act of love to take a call or check an email or read a message. 1 in 5 of us. Even Paris Hilton, that great cultural icon du jour, in her infamous sex video, which I haven't seen, I hasten to add, but I hear from reliable sources inform me that even she breaks off from her ministrations to take a call from Nicole. You know, hey, Nicole, this is hot. But even when we do manage to check our gadgets and BlackBerries at the bedroom door, we still seem to want to speed up the act of love. And I went into my newsagent in London a little while ago, and there was a magazine in the rack by the papers, and it had a headline for a story that said, "Bring her to orgasm in 30 seconds." So it's kind of, even in the bedroom, it's on your marks, get set, go. Now the funny thing about that 30-second orgasm technique is that whenever I mention it in a public arena, afterwards there are always a few men who come up and say, "What was the name of that magazine?" And what was the issue number? But no women ever do. And I think that's quite telling, because certainly when it comes to sex, I think that women have a natural understanding and affinity for the idea that slower is better. You remember that famous song, "I Want to Love Her with a Slow Hand"? That wasn't the Pointer Brothers who sang it, was it? It was the Pointer Sisters. Now I'm not here to say that all fast sex is bad. I like a quickie as much as the next person. And I got to tell you that as a married man with 2 small children, these days I'll take any sex I can get. But if all the sex you're getting is fast sex, then you are missing out. Because it's when we slow down in the bedroom that not only does the body have the time, especially the female body, to warm up so that we all get more bang for our buck, but all of those subterranean connections that occur between 2 people when they genuinely slow down together and are intimately in the moment, the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual even, those things begin to happen. You remember a few years ago that Sting, the pop star, became a laughingstock for boasting about having 7-hour tantric love sessions with his wife. And you thought, I mean, what a prat. And then you also worried for his wife, didn't you? I mean, she sometimes seemed to walk a little gingerly on the red carpet. You fast forward to today, and you've got couples of all ages flocking to workshops, tantric and otherwise, to relearn this lost art of slow lovemaking. And there's even the Italians. I mean, Italians always seem to know how to find their pleasure point, don't they? They've launched an official slow sex movement. I've had a couple of invitations to speak there, but mysteriously, my wife always seems to find something to put in the diary that gets in the way of that. So I can't report back from the front line of that one just yet. Sex leads naturally onto children, doesn't it? In the real world and now before us. I mean, you think about kids. We've handed on this cult of speed to the next generation. Children come out of the womb and they hit the ground running, don't they? It's Baby Einstein DVDs, Mozart to stimulate their brains, and then they're endlessly programmed and scheduled. But children actually need slowness as much, possibly even more, than adults do. Because it's in those unstructured moments of quiet, of loneliness, of boredom even, that kids learn how to think creatively, how to invent, how to socialize, how to look into themselves, how to use time, how to take pleasure, how to work out who they are rather than what we want them to be. So that's why you're seeing a profound rethink around the whole culture of modern child rearing. And in fact, that's what my next book that's just come out is about. It's called Under Pressure. And one of the things you're seeing is that right across North America now, there are towns that hold kind of regular slowdown days where all extracurriculars are canceled and homework, and children are just given time to hang out and play, be children. And a lot of families find that it's such a relief to have one day when they're not rushing off to ballet, karate, cello, that they start pruning their schedules the rest of the year. The same message is coming from elite universities. Harvard recently sent out a letter to all its first-year students saying, welcome to Harvard. We want you to reach for the stars. We want you to be the best that you can be. But in order to do that, you need to avoid getting overscheduled. You need to leave great, huge swathes of time in your diary when all you do is just be. You moon around campus. Maybe you sit under an apple tree like Isaac Newton did. The idea being that you strike a balance between being busy and not, between fast and slow. And the title of that letter from Harvard University, Harvard, the Mount Olympus of academic achievement, was simply slow down. Now I know you might be thinking, okay, food, cities, medicine, sports, sex, kids, I can see how slow works there, but in the workplace, I mean, come on, give me a break. If you slow down at work, you're toast. Wrong. Of course, in the modern workplace, much of the time, maybe even most of the time, you have to be fast. But if you're fast all the time, then you're going to miss out. You're going to end up like that gazelle running face first into that tree in the savannah. And that's why you're starting to see the slow philosophy gathering steam in the workplace. And it takes three forms there. The first is the simple idea of working less, working fewer hours in order to work better. The most productive workers in the world at the moment, by a lot of measures, are now the French with their infamous 35-hour work week. Now, I don't recommend the 35-hour work week for other countries as a model. I don't even recommend it for France. It has all kinds of problems. But I think the principle is a sound one, that working less can mean working better. You look at the Nordic countries, where they work many fewer hours than we do in the Anglo-Saxon world, and yet their economies rank routinely among the most productive in the world. That's the macro level. You see it happening at the micro as well. In the United States, PricewaterhouseCoopers, the big accounting firm, now closes its national operations 3 weeks a year to force its staff to take a vacation, to slow down, and finds that when they do actually come back into the office that they work better and more creatively, and absenteeism is down, and staff turnover is down as well. So that would be the first way I think you consider how slow applies in the workplace. The second is actually working more slowly. And what does that mean? That means changing gears and understanding that you can't be stuck in fast forward the whole time in a workday. Because all of the research shows that when the brain is in a relaxed and mellow state, the brainwaves move out in a more richer, more nuanced mode of thought, and you get those eureka flashes of brilliance. That's when the most fertile thinking goes on. That's what psychologists actually call slow thinking.